Most people scroll past heavy equipment without a second thought. Rusty dozers, military trucks, auction yards full of machines that look like they've already lived 3 lifetimes. Not exactly viral material, right? So why is everyone suddenly talking about C&C equipment? On the surface, it's just a family-run heavy equipment and military surplus dealer tucked away in Nashville, Indiana. The kind of place you'd expect to see off a rural highway, not dominating comment sections and racking up serious online attention. But somehow, this old-school equipment yard turned into something much bigger, a brand people actively watch, debate, and analyze. And it didn't happen by accident. Instead of quietly flipping machines behind the scenes, they put everything out in the open. The auction risks, the massive hauls, the mechanical surprises that can turn a great deal into a DMN headache overnight. Viewers aren't just watching equipment get repaired. They're watching real money move, real decisions get made, and real pressure unfold in real time. That's where it gets interesting, because once you mix big machinery, public business moves, and a loyal online following, conversation is guaranteed. Some people see smart strategy, others see risk. A few see something else entirely. But whether you're a fan, a skeptic, or just someone who stumbled onto a video about a military truck revival at 2 a.m., one thing is clear. C&C equipment isn't just selling machines anymore. They've become a story people can't stop talking about. What really changed everything wasn't a new bulldozer or a rare military truck. It was a camera. Before YouTube, C&C equipment was just another heavy equipment yard doing what it had done since 2004, buying, selling, and moving serious iron. But once they started documenting the process online, something unexpected happened. People didn't just want to buy the machines, they wanted to watch the deals unfold. And that's where the hook sets in. Most businesses only show the polished side, the finished product, the after photo. C&C does the opposite. They show the auction risks, the long drives to pick up questionable purchases, the first cold start on a machine that hasn't run in years. Sometimes it fires right up. Sometimes it turns into a DMN project no one saw coming. That unpredictability keeps viewers locked in. Every auction feels like a gamble. They're not bidding on small items. They're committing to multi-$1,000 pieces of equipment in real time. There's tension in that. You're watching real money move. You're watching decisions that can either pay off big or create a massive mechanical headache. And when a machine finally roars to life after sitting idle for who knows how long, it feels like a win for everyone watching. But it's not just about engines and hydraulics. The personalities on camera make the difference. The commentary feels unscripted. Reactions aren't polished or corporate. When something goes wrong, you see it. When a deal is solid, you hear the excitement immediately. That authenticity is rare, especially in business-focused content. Viewers start to feel like insiders. Instead of being sold to, they're brought along. They see how surplus equipment is evaluated. What makes something valuable? Why one military truck is worth the haul and another should be left behind. That transparency turns what could be dry industrial content into something strangely addictive. And here's the part. Most people don't expect the niche works in their favor. Heavy equipment isn't oversaturated like gaming or tech reviews. It's specific. It's blue collar. It attracts people who genuinely care about machinery, restoration, and flipping high-risk purchases. That tight audience builds loyalty fast. Comments aren't random. They're detailed. Viewers offer mechanical advice. They debate pricing. They predict outcomes before repairs even start. It becomes interactive. And when a channel mixes real business, real stakes, and a community that feels involved, conversation spreads naturally. Not because of drama, not because of viral gimmicks, but because people are invested in the outcome. Still, with more visibility comes more scrutiny. The more public the deals become, the more people analyze every move, every purchase, every shift in inventory. And that attention, it doesn't always stay neutral, because once viewers feel connected to a business, they start watching for more than just machinery. And that's where the story starts getting even more interesting. At first glance, it looks simple. Buy equipment, fix it, sell it, repeat. But when you look closer, the C&C equipment business model is a lot more layered than people realize. And that's exactly why it keeps sparking conversation. They aren't just flipping the occasional bulldozer. Their inventory ranges from construction equipment to military surplus trucks, attachments, and hard-to-find parts. One day, it's a dozer hauled in from an auction. The next, it's a batch of military vehicles that haven't seen pavement in years. That variety alone keeps things unpredictable. And unpredictability is powerful. Military surplus especially adds a unique twist. These machines weren't built for casual use. They were built for extreme conditions. That makes them durable, but it also means they're specialized. Parts can be rare, repairs can get complicated. Buyers need knowledge. Watching C&C evaluate whether something is worth the risk feels like watching someone solve a mechanical puzzle with real money on the line. But here's where it gets more interesting. They didn't limit themselves to just selling full machines. They expanded into parts, reproduction Jeep tubs, military truck components, surplus accessories. That move opens a completely different revenue stream. Instead of waiting for big-ticket sales, parts create consistent turnover, smaller purchases, repeat buyers, broader reach. It's a smart shift. And because all of this is happening publicly on YouTube, viewers start analyzing it like a live case study. When they buy multiple military trucks at once, people ask why. When they focus heavily on certain parts, people speculate about demand. When a piece of equipment sits for a while, comments start guessing whether it was a miscalculation. The audience isn't just watching, they're calculating. There's also the built-in tension of auction culture. Auctions don't guarantee perfect inspections. You're often bidding based on limited information. That's part of the thrill. It's also part of the risk. Viewers know that a machine can look solid on the surface and hide expensive surprises underneath. That gamble element fuels curiosity, because every purchase carries a silent question. Was that a steal or a mistake? And when you show the full process, the haul, the inspection, the first attempt to run it, the stakes feel real. If something works, it validates the strategy. If something fails, the loss isn't hidden. That transparency builds trust, but it also invites scrutiny. Then there's the scale factor. Most people will never buy a bulldozer. They'll never bid on a surplus military truck, but watching someone else do it scratches that same itch as flipping shows or high-risk investments. It's big. It's loud. It's physical. It feels different from typical online businesses. That difference is what keeps people talking, because C&C equipment isn't just selling machines. They're operating at the crossroads of heavy industry, surplus culture, and digital entrepreneurship. And when a traditional equipment yard turns itself into a public watchable operation, every move becomes part of the conversation. But as the business grows and more eyes start paying attention, the discussion shifts from curiosity to something deeper. The moment a business goes public online, the conversation changes. When C&C equipment was just operating locally, reputation traveled the old-fashioned way. Word of mouth, repeat buyers, industry contacts. But once thousands of viewers started watching every purchase and sale, something else kicked in: scrutiny. And scrutiny spreads fast on the internet. It only takes one comment to spark a thread, one forum post to trigger a debate, one buyer experience, at good or bad C&C, to turn into a larger discussion about credibility. That's not unique to C&C. It happens to almost every equipment reseller that operates publicly. But because their deals are visible to everyone, the conversations feel amplified. One detail people often bring up is their listing on the Better Business Bureau. The company is not BBB accredited, which immediately catches attention for some viewers. But that label alone doesn't automatically mean something negative. Many legitimate businesses choose not to pay for accreditation. Still, once that detail appears online, it becomes part of the discussion whether it's significant or not. And once a detail enters the internet, it rarely stays quiet. Equipment resale, especially surplus and military equipment, naturally produces mixed experiences. These aren't brand new consumer products with factory warranties. They're used machines with history. That means condition can vary, expectations can differ, and buyers need to understand what they're purchasing. Some customers share positive experiences, solid transactions, fair pricing, straightforward communication. Others might voice frustrations. That mix is common in heavy equipment markets. But online audiences don't always treat it as routine. They treat it as a story. And stories travel, because viewers don't just see inventory, they see personality. When a business owner is on camera regularly, explaining decisions and showing deals, the brand feels personal. That personal connection raises the stakes. People feel more invested. When things go smoothly, supporters defend the brand. When questions arise, skeptics speak louder. It creates tension, and tension fuels engagement. The interesting part is that none of this necessarily points to scandal or hidden drama. It's often just the natural byproduct of transparency. The more open you are about buying, selling, repairing, and pricing heavy equipment, the more material people have to analyze. But analysis can easily turn into speculation. A delayed shipment becomes a theory. A pricing change becomes a debate. A shift in inventory focus becomes a what's really going on conversation. In niche communities, especially ones built around machinery and money, people love to break down every detail. And once enough eyes are watching, even normal business operations can feel magnified. That's the trade-off of turning a traditional equipment yard into a public-facing brand. Visibility brings opportunity. And it also brings constant commentary. And as attention continues to grow, the line between simple discussion and full-blown internet narrative gets thinner and thinner. Long before C&C equipment ever hit record, something else was already building in the background. Auction culture was exploding. What used to be quiet, industry-only events started creeping into mainstream attention. Storage units, farm equipment, government surplus. People realized there was something addictive about watching high-risk purchases unfold in real time. It's the thrill of uncertainty, the gamble, the possibility that something overlooked could turn into serious value. And heavy equipment auctions sit right at the center of that energy. These aren't small purchases. We're talking about multi-ton machines, military trucks, industrial attachments, assets that can swing thousands of dollars based on a single mechanical issue. When someone raises a bidder card on a piece of equipment that hasn't run in years, the tension is real. That tension is watchable. C&C stepped directly into that wave. Instead of quietly bidding and hauling machines back to the yard, they brought viewers into the process. You see the inspection walkarounds. You hear the thought process. You feel the hesitation before a bid goes through. There's no dramatic soundtrack needed, the stakes create their own suspense. And once that format clicks, it becomes addictive, because every auction presents the same silent question. Is this going to be a win or a very expensive lesson? Military surplus adds another layer. Government equipment carries history. It was built for durability, but often sits unused for long periods. That mystery makes it compelling. Why was it retired? How long has it been sitting? What condition is it really in? Viewers don't just watch a machine start, they watch a piece of industrial history attempt a comeback. That narrative angle matters. It transforms what could be dry industrial footage into something closer to restoration storytelling. The first successful engine start feels earned. A machine moving under its own power. Again, feels like redemption. Even small victories, clearing a hydraulic issue, fixing wiring, become satisfying moments. And the broader culture supports it. Online audiences have developed a fascination with flipping. Houses, cars, storage units, anything undervalued that can be restored and resold for profit. Heavy equipment just raises the stakes. The numbers are bigger, the machines are louder, the risks are heavier, literally. That scale makes it stand out in a crowded content landscape. At the same time, the blue-collar authenticity resonates. There's no flashy studio setup, no overproduced marketing. It's dirt, grease, tools, and real-world decision-making. For many viewers, that feels grounded and refreshing compared to polished influencer culture. But when you combine auction hype, military surplus mystery, and public business transparency, attention compounds quickly. Because now it's not just about one bulldozer or one truck. It's about whether this entire high-risk model keeps working long-term. And that's where curiosity shifts into something bigger. People aren't just watching the next auction anymore. They're watching the trajectory of the business itself. Here's where things shift. It's one thing to build an audience around auctions and surplus machines. It's another thing entirely to keep that audience once they start watching everything you do. And lately, the attention around C&C equipment feels louder. Part of that comes from growth. The bigger a channel gets, the more eyes are watching. And more eyes means more opinions. Viewers start noticing patterns. Upload frequency, inventory changes, what types of machines are being prioritized. Things that once felt routine suddenly become talking points. A slightly slower posting schedule, people notice. More focus on parts instead of full equipment, people talk. A different style of video, the comments section lights up. That's not necessarily controversy, it's visibility. In tight niche communities, small shifts feel big. Heavy equipment audiences are detail-oriented. These are viewers who understand machinery, pricing, logistics. They're not passively scrolling, they're analyzing. When something changes, even slightly, they start connecting dots, sometimes accurately, sometimes creatively. And creativity spreads fast online. The interesting part is that nothing dramatic has to happen for speculation to grow. A business adjusting strategy is normal. Inventory rotates, markets fluctuate, demand changes. But when your entire operation is documented publicly, those normal adjustments feel amplified. It becomes narrative fuel. Some viewers frame changes as smart business evolution, expanding parts sales, diversification, adjusting content style, efficiency. Others wonder if it signals pressure behind the scenes. Is the equipment market shifting? Are auctions becoming riskier? Is surplus inventory harder to source? Once those questions appear, they multiply. And because C&C built its brand on transparency, the audience feels entitled to understand every move. That's the paradox. The more open you are, the more people expect continued openness. If communication feels lighter or more focused on certain areas, curiosity fills the gaps. But curiosity doesn't automatically mean crisis. Often, it simply means people care. There's also the algorithm factor. When YouTube pushes certain videos harder than others, it changes perception. A video that performs differently can spark comments about direction or momentum, even if the business itself hasn't fundamentally changed. Online momentum is fragile. One month feels explosive. The next feels quieter. But that fluctuation is normal across almost every channel. The difference here is that C&C operates in a real-world industry where every purchase carries financial weight. So when viewership patterns shift, people instinctively wonder how it impacts the business itself. That's where the volume of conversation increases. Because now, viewers aren't just watching machines start up, they're watching sustainability, longevity, strategy. Is this just a strong, niche channel riding auction culture, or is it evolving into something more stable and diversified? Those questions don't come from scandal. They come from investment. Emotional and intellectual. And when an audience feels invested in a business's future, every upload feels like a signal, which means the real reason everyone's talking might not be about one specific event at all. It might be about what happens next. Step back for a second, and the reason everyone's talking becomes clearer. C&C Equipment isn't just a heavy equipment dealer anymore. It's a live case study in what happens when a traditional blue-collar business plugs directly into the internet. That combination is rare. Most equipment yards operate quietly. Deals happen behind closed doors, inventory moves without an audience watching every step. But C&C flipped that model. They turned diesel engines, auction bids, and surplus hauls into episodic content. And in doing that, they blurred the line between business and entertainment. That shift matters more than people realize. Because this isn't just about bulldozers or military trucks, it's about visibility. When you document your business publicly, every decision becomes part of a larger narrative. Wins feel bigger, mistakes feel louder, growth feels personal, and audiences respond to that. There's something compelling about watching real-world risk unfold. Not simulated, not scripted, real equipment, real money, real outcomes. Viewers aren't just watching machines get repaired, they're watching entrepreneurship in motion. That's powerful. It taps into something deeper than curiosity about machinery. It taps into ambition, into strategy, into the idea that value can be created from overlooked assets. A surplus truck sitting idle becomes potential. A worn-out dozer becomes a project. A parts expansion becomes a long-term play. It's business storytelling, without the corporate filter. At the same time, it reflects a bigger trend happening across industries. Traditional trades are moving online. Farmers are vlogging harvests, mechanics are documenting restorations, contractors are breaking down job sites, audiences are hungry for authenticity that doesn't feel manufactured. C&C sits right at that intersection. They represent a version of entrepreneurship that feels grounded. No flashy influencer aesthetic, no rented supercars. Just iron, tools, and calculated risk. For many viewers, that feels more relatable than polished startup culture. But that visibility also creates pressure, because once a business becomes content, it can't fully separate the two. Inventory choices affect viewership. Upload schedules affect perception. Market shifts affect both revenue and audience reaction. The operation becomes a hybrid. Part equipment yard, part media channel. And that hybrid model is fascinating. It raises bigger questions about the future of niche industries. Will more equipment dealers adopt this transparent approach? Will auction culture continue to grow? Can a heavy machinery business sustain momentum long-term in the algorithm-driven world of online video? Those questions extend beyond one company. That's why the conversation feels larger than just C&C Equipment. It's about what their model represents. A traditional industry adapting and thriving in a digital ecosystem. Most people never expected it to enter. And whether you're watching for the machines, the strategy, or the sheer unpredictability of it all, one thing is certain. This isn't just about equipment anymore, it's about evolution. And that evolution is still unfolding.